Oh, it's about time. All right. Welcome in, everyone. Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? All right. So let's do this. Week 23. Are you ready? I'm ready. Welcome to Clear Start Mondays. I'm John Hehman, a mental performance coach, and tonight I am your host. Each Monday, we do three things. We ground your nervous system, we write through a few honest questions, and you leave with one clear move for the week. You will not be put on the spot. You don't have to share anything out loud. This is not group therapy. It's not a hustle session. It's not a motivational speech. It is a reset. You are here to be a human with a pen and paper and a nervous system that's probably tired. This is the third week of our Mental Health Month arc. 2 weeks ago, we talked about catching yourself mid-pattern. Last week, we talked about deciding what a good day looks like for you. We even introduced the morning tool, one breath when the alarm goes off. Notice what you're touching, feel the temperature, before the phone, before anything else. And tonight, we're talking about what happens when we miss a day. Because most of you probably did, let's face it, at least one morning, maybe even all of them. And that's okay. Because I want to name something right up front before we do anything else. That is completely fine. Not fine in the way that people say fine when they're disappointed, but actually fine. Because tonight is not about whether you did the thing. Tonight is about whether you told yourself when you didn't. It's about whether you took that breath or not. That's the part that matters. That's where the real work is. And that voice that showed up when you missed it, it's the same voice we've been looking at for 3 weeks. We've named it. We've caught it mid-pattern. We asked whose voice it actually was. And tonight, we're going to follow it into one more room. But before we talk about anything, before we think about anything, just let your body arrive. Take a breath. I want to invite you to close your eyes. Let the air around you fill up your lungs. And just breathe. Go ahead and feel your feet on the ground. Make sure they're sitting down. Make sure you're somewhere where your feet are touching the ground. And go ahead and feel your feet on the ground. See if you can locate your big toe on one foot. I'm going to change it up. Notice where you're sitting and where your body's touching. All of those points on whatever you're sitting on. Notice the temperature of the air as you take a breath. Go ahead and see if you can find your pinky toes on each foot for me. Now, unclench your jaw. Relax your face and your skull. Now, go ahead and wiggle all your toes. Roll your shoulders back and drop. This is my favorite one to do. Oh, I love that. Take one long, slow breath in through your nose and notice that sensation of air one more time. And pause ever so briefly at the top of this breath. Exhale gently through your mouth, noticing the sensation of air leaving your lips. Very good. Most people start their week already reacting, already solving, already bracing. And if you notice that in yourself, nothing's going wrong. That's normal. This grounding practice that we're doing right now is how we set the pace each week. There's nothing to achieve tonight. There's nothing to perform. Just be here. So I'd like to invite you to a visualization, and you're welcome to keep your eyes closed if that's more comfortable for you. Imagine your mind is a snow globe. And inside that glass, your thoughts, worries, the things outside of your control, other people's moods, the what-ifs in your life, What's going on at your job? There's snowflakes inside. And all week long, that snow globe has been getting stirred up without us trying. Every notification, every responsibility, every demand, every email, every shift of attention, every interaction you've taken on emotionally, every moment that you've heard mom, dad, or you've heard your name and you felt you were rushed or overwhelmed, that is one of those flakes falling. And I want to invite you to picture setting that snow globe down. Just look at it and set it down and say, wow, look, there it is. Gently, easily, hands off, no effort, just stillness. Watch those pieces float and fall one by one. And just let them settle. Each piece is drifting down and calmer as it goes closer to the bottom. Notice the moment that last flake is falling. The water's become clearer, and it's not because you forced anything, but because you stopped stirring it. If your globe hasn't settled yet, that's okay. You didn't do it wrong. We're just noticing. So go ahead and ask yourself quietly, what am I carrying into this session that I do not need right now? Whatever comes up, just name it. You don't need to fix it. You don't need to understand it. Just admit that you're carrying it, and for now, set it down beside you. You're welcome to open your eyes if they were closed and return to the room. So here's what we're doing tonight. And this is something that almost never gets said in personal development spaces. You are going to fail. You are going to miss days. And it's not because you're undisciplined. It's not because you don't care. It's not because this isn't the right practice for you. But because you're a human being living in a real life. And real life doesn't run on streaks. They're nice to have, sure, but last week we introduced a morning tool. It's that one breath when the alarm goes off. And the idea is to notice what you're touching. To feel the temperature before your phone. Before your list, before your email, before anything else. It's simple. Physical sensational awareness for 10 seconds. And that's it. And for most of you, something happened between last Monday and tonight. Maybe you grabbed your phone before you even remembered we did this. Maybe the morning was already on fire before your alarm went off. Have one of those mornings. Kid comes running in the room. Hey, what are you doing? I'm sleeping. What are you doing? The cat's in the freezer. Why is the cat in the freezer? Doesn't matter. Maybe you did this practice twice this week and then missed one. And that voice showed up. That voice that we've been looking at. And it says things like, you already blew it. You always do this. What was the point? You knew you wouldn't stick with it. Does that sound familiar? We've been looking at this voice for 3 weeks now. In 20, we caught it mid-pattern. 21, we started asking whose voice it actually is. And in 22, we tried to interrupt it before we got hijacked. Tonight, we're going to look at what happens when it shows up after the miss, because here's the thing about that voice. It doesn't just narrate that you missed it. It uses that miss as evidence. Evidence of something that it's been trying to prove to you about yourself for a very long time. And that evidence is what keeps you from starting again. It's not the miss itself. It's the story the voice builds around the miss. And that's what we're looking at tonight. And the move we're going to practice is the simplest one in the whole arc. It's 2 words. Start again. So let's get into this. Go ahead and grab something to write with. It's the same rules as always. Do not write the right answer. Write the honest one. Question 1. Think about the last time you set an intention for yourself and missed it. It doesn't have to be last week's morning practice. It could be anything. Something you said you were going to do and didn't. Something you started and stopped. Something you keep meaning to build into your life that keeps just not happening. So here's what I actually want you to write about. Not the miss itself, but what did you tell yourself about the miss? What was the exact script that inner voice ran? Because most people have a very specific inner critic response for this moment. It has a particular phrase that it really likes. And it has particular ways that it frames what happened. And it likes to live in this story. So maybe it said, I always do this. Or maybe it said, I knew I wouldn't stick with this plan. Or maybe it said, what's the point of even trying this? Maybe it said something quieter. Maybe it just kind of told you that you're the kind of person who doesn't follow through and it kind of felt icky. Whatever it was, write it down as close to the actual words as you can. Not the sanitized version, not the one that makes you look reasonable, the one that actually played, even if it was less than kind. Because most people have been carrying that script for years without ever writing it down and looking at it directly. And that's what we're going to do right now. So let me put a timer up here, my friends. All right. Let me click this. All right. 3 minutes, friends. So what did you tell yourself about the miss? What did that voice come in and say to you when there was something that you said you were going to do and didn't? What was the exact script the voice ran? You got just over 2.5 minutes here, friends. Think about the last time that you set an intention for yourself and missed it. What did you tell yourself about that moment? Write down the actual words as close to as exactly as you can remember about what the voice said to you. Just over a minute to go here. All right, we got there. So let's see here. Let's put this to 3 minutes again. Oh my goodness, I didn't want to move it. Let's see here. Just please. There we go. All right. So, question 2. Let me make sure my mic is muted. Okay, we're good. Question 2. Look at what you just wrote. That voice, that script, the specific way it narrated the miss. I want to give you some perspective on that. Missing a day is a fact. It happened. It's neutral. On its own, it doesn't mean anything permanent. It doesn't say anything about your character. It doesn't predict anything about your future. A fact is just a fact. But the story the voice told you about the miss, that story is not neutral. That story has a perspective in it, a set of conclusions about who you are and what you're capable of. A verdict that it reached very quickly and stated very confidently. So here's the question that I want you to sit with. What if missing a day isn't actually the problem? What if the story you told yourself about missing it is? Because here's the difference. Missing a day is recoverable in about 10 seconds. One breath. Start again. But a story that says you're the kind of person who always quits, that story doesn't go away when you show up the next morning. It's already waiting back there. It's been waiting every morning for years. Go ahead and look at what you wrote in that first question. What does that story actually say about how you see yourself? Not what it says about last week's missed practice, but what does it say about you as a person? Is it fair? Is it accurate? Or is it a very old voice making the same argument it always makes, using whatever evidence just landed in its hands? Go ahead and write down what comes up for you. We're going to put this one on 5 minutes. I know that was a lot, so I'm going to go ahead and read it again while you guys are writing. Look at what you wrote for the first one. That voice, that script, it's narrated in a very specific way. And I want to offer a different perspective on it. It's happened. It's in the past. That missed moment on its own doesn't mean anything permanent. It doesn't say anything about your character. It's just a fact. But that story that you're assigning to yourself, the value of what that miss means, of what that fact is, that story is not neutral. What if missing a day isn't that problem? What if the story that you're telling yourself about the missing problem is? Look at what you wrote in that first question. What does that story actually say about how you see yourself? What does it say about you as a person? Is it fair? Is it accurate? Or is it an old voice telling you that you're not enough? That you are whatever that next word is. Write down what comes up for you. You got 3.5 minutes to go. Just about 2 minutes to go here. Look at what you wrote in the first question. And this might be challenging for some of you, but what does that story actually say about how you see yourself? And then ask yourself, is that fair? Is it accurate? Or is it someone else's voice making the same old argument? Whatever comes up for you, just over a minute to go here. Hey, we got there. All right. Question 3. You have named the script. You've also looked at what it says about how you see yourself. So now we're going to get specific about how you'd actually like to handle this. The next time you notice you've drifted from something you said, something that you said that mattered to you, what are you going to do in that moment? Not a new plan, not a fresh start on a Monday, not a full reset. In that exact moment, when you realize that you missed it, when that voice starts its speech, what are you going to do? Because here's what we know about the gap between the miss and the story. That little space, that gap, is where everything happens. The miss occurs, the voice arrives. And most of us do one of two things. We either hand the voice the whole story and spend the next hour or longer feeling like we've failed. Or we promise ourselves we'll do better next time and never actually close the loop. Neither of those is starting again. Starting again is different. Starting again doesn't feel like a fresh start to a day. Starting again doesn't need the streak to still be intact. Starting again doesn't require the voice to be quiet first. Starting again is just this. You've noticed that you've drifted, that this voice is coming in and saying these things to you. And we're just going to take one step back towards alignment, one breath, one small move right now. So what's your step? What specifically are you going to do in the moment that that voice comes in? Name it simply enough that you can actually do it in 30 seconds or less. Because a vague intention meets that voice, and the voice wins every single time, and you know it. So a specific move, named out loud, written down, right here, right now, has a real chance. 3 minutes, friends. What are you going to say to that voice? What is your one step? The next time you notice that you've drifted from something that matters to you, an intention that you've set, what are you going to do in that moment? What are you going to do when that voice comes in? Name it simply enough that you can actually do it in 30 seconds or less. We want to set real intentions here. Make it easy. You want to make this so easy that it's impossible not to do it. I wrote down, I'm going to take a breath and recognize, and then I'm going to laugh. That's my step. What's your step? Just over a minute to go here, friends. we have got there. So here's what I want to name before we close. We've now spent 4 weeks building something. In 20, we caught the pattern mid-run. In 21, we started asking whose voice it was. In 22, you made a specific decision about how you wanted to start the day. And in 23, just this week, just right now, you looked at how you talk to yourself, how that voice comes in when you miss. And if you missed the morning practice this week, I want to say something to you directly. It's okay. It's not ruined. You can start again. The streak is not a thing. There is no streak. There never was a streak. There is only this morning, and this morning, and this morning. Every day is a new opportunity, and consistency doesn't mean you never miss one. Consistency means that you keep coming back, and that's it. A musician doesn't stop being a musician because they missed a day of playing. An athlete doesn't stop being an athlete because they missed a workout. You don't stop being someone who is working on themselves because you missed a morning. The moment you've noticed you've drifted is not evidence that you've failed. It is evidence that you are paying attention. And paying attention is the entire practice, so celebrate that. The morning tool from last week is still there tomorrow morning. Your alarm's going to go off. And you can still take a breath before you reach for that phone. You can notice what you're touching. You can feel its temperature. And that's the whole practice. You can set your intent for your day right there. And you can do it whether you did it yesterday or not, because it doesn't matter. The streak is irrelevant. Missing a day doesn't close the door. It's just a door. And it opens again every time you start again. You just have to walk through it. So your anchor phrase this week is super simple. Guess what it is? It is start again. 2 words. Not I'll do better next time, or I need to start over from the beginning, or why do I always do this? Or maybe this just isn't for me. Just start again. It's the shortest possible response to the longest inner critic speech. The voice shows up with its full argument, the whole case it's been building about who you are and what you're capable of. It uses evidence that it's collected and the verdict that it's already reached. And you just come back to it and say, start again. Not to the voice. You don't argue with that. You don't try to convince it what's wrong. You're just going to let it go. You're going to laugh at it. And you're just going to say, start again. Take a breath. And the next step. Notice what you're touching. Feel the temperature. That's it. And here's why 2 words is the right length. A longer phrase gives the voice time to argue. Start again is over before that voice even comes in. It's not a declaration. It's not a promise. It's just a warm direction. Forward. From here, right now. Use it this week, just once. The next time you've noticed you've drifted from an intent or something that matters to you, don't reach for the full reset. You don't have to wait till Monday. Don't let the voice finish its speech. Just say it quietly. Start again. And then take one small step back towards the thing that you're working on. And that's the whole practice. That's it. So tonight you did something worth acknowledging. You looked honestly at the script that your inner judge plays when you miss. You named what that story says about how you see yourself, and you made a specific decision about what you're going to do the next time you've noticed it. That's not a small thing. Most people spend years inside that inner critic loop without ever pausing to examine what it's actually saying, without ever questioning whether the voice is telling the truth, without ever asking whether the miss is the problem or whether the story about the miss is the problem. You just did all 3 of those things, and this is Mental Health Month. And I want to say something about what mental health actually looks like for every kind of person in the room. It doesn't look like breakdown and recovery. It doesn't look like crisis and intervention. It looks like this. A quiet, functional person. A person who keeps showing up and examines their patterns. They question the voice, and they choose how they want to start the day. It looks like someone who misses a morning and doesn't turn into a bad guy. It doesn't turn them into evidence of who they are. It doesn't mean anything. It looks like someone who can hear 2 words and mean them. Start again. You don't need a new personality. You don't need a perfect streak. You just need to keep coming back to the things that matter to you. And that's what consistency actually is. And you just proved tonight that you can do that. If you want to go deeper into this work, the Saboteur Assessment is available at rvscoaching.com/saboteur. It will show you exactly which patterns have been making it harder for you to come back to when you drift, and what's been running under your system underneath all of it. Feel free to reach out to me directly at john@rvscoaching.com. And I want to share this one last thing with you. The music that's been playing during the timer is being released tonight at midnight on all platforms. If you search my name and Restful Sleep, you will be able to loop that song and sleep to it if you like. Thank you for being here. I believe in you, and I will see you next Monday.